soldiers, and they had a bird. And that bird was a form of communication to communicate with the other. They've formed some bigger society, I believe, from that standpoint. And I think the communication society wins against the ape warriors, and that's why civilization has been on this trajectory of forming into bigger and bigger states. And the activation frontier and stuff that was with the declaration of AI that Brian's doing, I think that's genius. I honestly think he is putting himself into a leapfrog moment, a quantum leap of his worldly influence, which is what one should look for to activate themselves in order to have leverage to maximize your vibrational state. Believe your vibrational state is a good and a positive. You have an obligation to, in fact, if you believe it's a good enough or positive one. You are a warrior sage, or I like grateful warrior, because I think the best sages are actually just those who sit with gratitude, which allows you to maximize compassion, which is what Buddha said, deactivate on all other things besides activate compassion. And if you can do that, that's how he said you win the game, which I think is becoming a lot more real in our reality because of the switch from where we had the similar switch with legacy media, which ran into creator economy, and we're in the midst of legacy finance running into token economy, which really stands for shared belief system economy, which really says it's about the vibe. So I was writing about that, and I think one of the biggest vibes to have is some higher power put us all on this planet for great things, put us all together. That in all the meetings that you have, that was a destiny. That's a vibe that wins and helps you manifest, so it's a higher frequency, and it allows you to see things differently. It allows you to see your own reality and your own trajectory with like a flashlight of more possible, awesome, better trajectories for your most fulfilled self, which is an activation in and of itself. And that's where I'm thinking about persist, and one of the things that I thought you were surprised by, but actually a really key point, that I'm glad you were surprised by it, because some of my contrarian bets, you surfaced to me that was something I was doing differently. And overall, it's because persist is a vibe. All companies are vibes in the shared belief system economy that we're emerging into. And Balaji calls these network states. We're reforming these different forms of communication. And in a world of may the best vibe win, the direction of any company is towards the direction of their spirit, their collective vibe. And obviously that goes into hand of how much production it has. And I wrote a small piece for my own team because I want to send this to them, which is, I don't always give the best vibes to people when I give my feedback. I'm often very, very harsh. And I don't feel like I did the duty of really explaining my inner vibe to understand that aspect, that being just a form of maximally tough love, I think that's so important, because I remember having coaches that I hated, even though they were trying to make me the best. But it was, I think, simply up to the coach who told me, I'm gonna be a to you because I love you. And that converts the aspect of a bad vibe into a good vibe. You give the meme the understanding, the transference of what it really means. And in an organization that tries to make itself more meritocratic and more where everyone owns a stake or share of its future in existence, then each participant's goal is to raise the body of the organism and think through every cell and how those cells are coordinated. And I think some people say we're in a war of vibes now, or a cyber warfare, which is really mimetic. Then people say we do proxy wars in order to actually just cause a certain mimetic activation within government. And some people rationalize this with saying we need to change this or else some other big thing is going to happen. And that's just one understanding of, I think, some of the world powers at play, at least. But a tangent. Get back to the core. The vibe, each cell is not valued the same in its body, but the cells which make up the brain do. They're just trying to increase its network activity. Therefore, the vibe isn't just vibing for the heck of it. Its strength towards the mission to retain and grow the vibes is its goal. A neuron's goal is to to network and connect. And the cluster of neurons in our brains evolved, I think, from a way that you can think of cellular and multicellular organisms. You can relate to the ape groups, who you essentially have states as multicellular organisms. So they breed more power based on a certain governance structure, which that governance structure, the big talk that everyone understands, is how is this going to hold up to the future that we're entering? You know, AI is fundamentally changing everything. All things are going to be shifted more than we understand. And it's funny that, you have the breakdown of the dollar at that similar time and these bigger other shifts, which seem like almost necessary points for us to have access to certain technologies in order to navigate the future. That's a beautiful thing, because I think it tells the story that there's some grander architected play, that things are happening for certain reasons. So I think you identified that different sort of cap structure and the different sort of a decentralized intelligence agency, which is what a brain is. A brain is a decentralized intelligence agency, which built smaller networks to serve different purposes in order for all the cells that it services or preserves to be preserved longer, with a basis of life. And as neurons, Elon has a tweet which says a neuron doesn't realize they're a neuron, which I love. Elon's based as fuck, right? That's actually his biggest win. He's so based, he spits out a bunch of these bangers, and you can sort of see his game, which is great. The best gamers always shared their game completely, which is what, Sam also said. The best founders don't create companies, they create religions. And that's what the gamers of religions did. They just played building better scripts, activate higher frequencies within a network state. It becomes a network state through religion, through a higher force of connectivity or understanding of the world. And those are things today, but it is only in times of existential distress that there would be a force to go create something of that sort. So I'm not sure if that's Sam's ultimate goal, or that was something that he thought of one of the main interesting things to think about or to work on. But, my understanding of the world, the prompts that I live by, the same way I prompt an AI, and it has a context window which makes it serve a certain function or understand the world a certain way, changes my frequency. And I love that Brock always says the free can see, because I think that's really what's happening is in certain frequencies you can see the game differently. Especially when you see the game differently in a form of, this is all happening for a reason in this beautiful divine symphony that has allowed us to coalesce and be in this crazy time in human history, and that things are gonna work out and that you're a part of it working out because you can believe that. And that's the core of a good shared belief system. In this day and age, it can't be, I found a book in the middle of a forest and I said, angels gave it to me. Someone's gonna put me in a mental asylum. Or say you took too many shrooms. So you actually have to make it more like the Illuminati, in the sense that you have to illuminate people and raise their frequencies. And in and of its own right, that I think is a key piece that causes me to film more. It's just to capture the vibe and energy, understand its importance, and understand why it's important to, in some sense, same Mr. Beast and all great founders say, create a shadow of yourself. You need to train someone who understands and sees the world like you, who can vibe on your level. And so in some sense, it's also cool that companies do this. They build a database of certain vibes, which are prompts to the individuals. But it's more like, what are the prompts for the future that we most need? Well, it's becoming a lot more of vibes, because a shared belief system economy, the biggest transfer of wealth in existence, that was Bitcoin, was just the tip of the spear. And that's just the start of the switch of the biggest wealth transfer in history. And especially with our techno-capital machine breaking down and robotics coming in and AI coming in. And I think you see an interesting new substrate, which DNA is placed in a perfect place for it, which is, I think a meme lord sort of company institutionally getting involved in the greatest wealth transfer is the perfect place in the world to be. It's just positioning in a really magical way, and a lot of smart minds grouped together to position to work together on it is genius. So I wonder, and that should be another piece of the discussion in terms of, I'd like to have some of DNA myself too, and then I'd like to make yourself an advisor to persist as well, and just like share the vibes. That's what it's all about. And so or getting myself involved in the right places is leading persist in the right piece of this future. And anyone who understands that change in their frequency is a powerful positive thing and sees that the vibe, that's the vibe raised towards, is not an NPC, which has become a new meme in the world, which helps us objectify non-NPC thinking and better thinking. And so like memes are that deep and powerful for that reason, is they help us package cultural information, and that's why while we're in a very degenerate phase of meme tokens, once it truly does evolve into more institutional levels and it's adults, it's already involved in politics, which memes and culture is really just a vote of politics. And so I think there's the greatest wealth transfer in history is underway, and it is a shift from legacy finance to a new economy, not just of attention where you get millions of views, but tokens that people launch and get millions of dollars of market cap very quickly is the initial difference. I think Pumped Up Fun is the 4chan. In the early internet, 4chan was the message board, which was the lewd, degenerate message board. That's how things sort of start. People coalesce based on lower forms of purpose just for fun. And then somehow purpose finds its way to involve itself and create higher orders of meaning because those societies build better. The infrastructure of the degens can't compete. The warriors who try to attack in our low vibe, like in the show, can't compete with the message, higher powered states. Which is really why then religion won in our own civilization, which formed in different localities, network states, because we couldn't transfer information all across the globe. We ran at the speed of a horse. Our brain was dead. And in my video where I talked about the quote from Max Tegmark, who's the AI thinker and researcher, which I think has him understand more about